Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, traders. Steve here at logicfxtrading. Welcome to our FX analysis for Thursday, the 30th of September, 2021. Okay, guys, let's have a quick look at this. We're just starting with this Japanese or this yen currency index because we've been keeping an eye on it over the last few weeks, guys, as it's making this attempt to push further short out of what I assume is a running flat. So this is technically based, guys. So we've got this run down with a pullback and a little correction that's come back up. Wasn't beautiful, guys, but they're rarely going to be beautiful. You're rarely going to get something that looks exactly as Elliott draws it, guys. So it's come up to here and then started to drop. And that's what we were looking for. Now, prior to that, to be honest, at this point when we come in here, we were wondering where we're going to get a push up. But when it broke down here, came to here and then faltered, we looked at it and we said, it looks like a running flat, which means it's possibly that we're going to get a run down there. And that's what we have so far. So for this week, even though I haven't traded any currencies this week as it is, guys, because I took a bit of month or so off. So I don't like to just jump into things. I like to get the feel for it and get to the stage where I've got a good idea about what's going on. Then I start to risk my money on it, guys. So it's about patience. So, and obviously hindsight's a wonderful thing because we were looking for this, didn't trade it, but it's there for you guys to see. What I'm looking for now on this would be some sort of pullback. It's always if then. If this happens, then we do that. If I was in this, I would probably put my stop to 0 unless it hit my target. But if I was in it for the long run, chances are it'll continue down. If you're not in it, then you've got to wait for a setup to get back into it, guys. Because sure as day follows night or night follows day, if you got involved short there, next week it'll do this and you'll end up sitting in the red for 2 or 3 weeks before you get back to break even. By that time, you're probably saying, oh, if I get back to break even, I'll take my money. And then you actually miss the profit off it, guys. So always be patient enough to look for the correct setup. And it isn't always possible, and I don't always do it. But, you know, I still have to remind myself what the right thing to do is, guys. So let's see if that continues. Obviously, we don't trade the index. We trade the currency pairs that have the yen in them, and then we pick the one or two that we know have the best chance of giving us a return, guys. Okay, so quickly over to DXY, which is where we usually start. This is broken out long. The reason it's broken out long is because of all the currencies in the world, the Fed, or all the central banks, should I say, of the developed currencies, or the developed world currencies. The Fed seem to be the most hawkish, and therefore people are pretty keen to get involved in buying the dollar. In the long run, the dollar is overvalued, guys, and will start to drop as soon as the constituents of DXY start to react to their own economies. And what do I mean by that? Well, as soon as the Eurozone starts to feel a little bit of inflationary pressure, they'll have to start to taper their bond buying activities. The UK is the same. They've already indicated that that they may well start to do that, and they've also indicated that they could even increase interest rates before they complete their tapering process, guys. So we are moving into a period that's going to be good for currency trading, so long as we do the analysis and we get it right. It hasn't been a good period this last year for me about predicting where things are going, because everything's been to zero. Not exactly zero, but you understand what I mean, guys. We always look for an idea, a clue, a reason why a particular currency will strengthen or will weaken, and then we use that and we run with that until that motive factor runs out of steam, and then we look for something else, guys. So the idea that the Fed are going to taper sooner rather than later has made the market move. Obviously, they do it. The market moves before the thing happens because they predict it. If they wait until the day it happens, then you're at the back of the queue, aren't you? So the market moves before. So we've had this breakout, which is grand. But what's next? Well, it could continue to push up. But same story from a point of view, if you want to trade it, is that there's a place to get involved and a place not to get involved. And when something's already gone, guys, don't jump in there. You got to wait for it to correct and then still understand that it's going to continue to go up, if that's what the case would be at the time. And then you look to get involved in it. If you're involved in it now, then you manage your trade. Decide where you're going to take a profit. Decide when you're going to move your stops. Decide when you're going to put your stop to zero. So what I'm indicating here is if you got in there and it's moved that far, get your stop to zero at least, or take your profit depending on what you've decided your trading strategy is going to be. So what I'm looking for in this is some sort of move back into this trend, and then from there we'll look at trying to trade it up. By the way, for anyone that's new, because I draw that doesn't mean that's going to happen. That means that's what I'm looking for. And if that happens, then I'll do that. This could well continue to push up. So it's not a case of being right and wrong, guys. It's a case of looking for a certain setup. And if it happens, then you make a decision whether you're going to trade it or not. So Euro USD, same thing. It's continued, or actually the opposite of DXY. It's continued to push down. And what we've been looking for, or I've been looking for, is a little pullback of some form or other in order to put me in a position where I would consider continuing to trade down, guys. So we're looking for a setup. And why do we wait for that? Well, everything moves like that, guys, even when it's in an impulse. So if you get involved there, or sometimes it moves sharper. But if you get involved there, then you've got to ride through this. And while that's happening, well, you don't know that that isn't a turning point. It's only once you get a nice setup that with a high degree of probability it will drop again. This could be a turning point, and price goes off like that. In the meantime, you shorted there. So that's why we wait for the pullback. Check our fundamentals, and when it starts to go again, you get a breakout, and then we get involved. Sorry for anyone who's regular that I'm doing a bit of teaching here. I shouldn't really be doing it. I know that, but it kind of it's just natural in me. Same with the pound. Pound's pushed down against the dollar. Sorry, the dollar's pushed down against the pound. So pound dollar short. Same thing. You're looking for a pullback in order to get involved in it if you're not already involved. The Aussies have finally moved, and we did say it would move. We kind of said, well, there's our initial target. It hung around in there for a little while longer, and it's moved down. This is a 4-hour chart we're on here, by the way, guys. So there's a lot more detail to be had if you go in closer. And then you can see that it isn't just a straight move. There's a pullback, and then a drop, and a pullback, and a drop. So that's the sort of thing we're looking for there, guys, as a setup. Pullback, comes up, starts to break, get involved. Then it pulls back. If it hits your stop loss, so be it. You know, and then you set up again and you go again. Or on a higher time scale, there was your impulse, there was your pullback, and this is the start of the next impulse down. Where's it going to finish? Well, at this point, we don't know. Maybe it's there, and then we get the bigger pullback on the dollar. But before it goes again. Now, what I've promised to do, and there's the New Zealand guys. Both of these went yesterday. I looked at them yesterday and I wasn't sure, but they've gone, guys. And you could even see there, that's the 5 wave there. 1, 2, 3, running flat 4. And we have this, that's about the 5th. It may not reach there this time round. In other words, you've had a 5. It could well be a pullback. Could be a flat, could be a triangle, could be a zigzag, could be, you know, sharp zigzag, and then I think it'll continue on down. So as I was saying there, I'm going to start posting these again on TradingView so that we can keep an idea, or not an idea, guys, so we can keep a track of the forecasts that we've made, see where we've got them right, see where we've got them wrong, and then even when we've got them right, how did we get from A to B? Because it isn't always a straight line. In fact, it's very rarely a straight line, guys. US CAD. Now, this is the one that was a little bit less enthusiastic about. Why? Well, because we're a bit bullish on the CAD as well. So if you're bullish on two, in other words, they're both moving in the same direction, then you leave it alone. And then the Swedish, that's, I think this is going to go long. Remembering we've switched here from the dollar being on the, oh my goodness, the quote side to the Swedish krona being on the quote side, and I hope I've got that right. It's one of those wee things that I always get mixed up after years, and I still get mixed up with it. So there's some sort of structure going on in there, guys. Wary of that potential double top. So at this point, you'd be looking for something like that, guys, that may push to the double top first, and then we'll get a pullback, and then from there we'll look. And at that stage, if we get that pullback in the dollar, then we'll be in a position to have maybe 3 or 4 trades to choose from. And obviously, you don't take them all. And then there's the yen, guys. Yet again, this shows you're looking for something that's running short and trade it against something that's running long. Well, we said at the start of the week the dollar was most likely going to start to break out long, and the yen was going to run short. Put the two of them together, and there was the best trade of the week, guys. And it's broken out. We were talking about it early in the week, that there was a potential little double top there where you might get a reaction off it. You don't always get the reaction, guys, but it's not a place to get involved because it's almost 50-50 that you would get a reaction rather than price pushing on through. So now that it's pushed on through, what next? You still need to wait for a correction, guys. And then off you go. And it could even be a sharp correction. And then off we go again. Unless something changes fundamentally. The fundamentals don't change that often, guys, or that quickly, should I say. US dollar, Swiss franc. Well, we also said it would continue on up. Yet again, the little squiggle there means we're looking for a pullback. It's broken through there. That's positive signs for the dollar continuing to go long. Golds continue to go short as the dollar has strengthened. Remember, if the dollar weakens, then the gold price goes up, and the dollar gets strong. Gold price goes down, but obviously the gold price is also moved by other things. But so far as its dollar price is concerned, like anything else, the dollar gets stronger, the commodity price becomes cheaper, goes lower. And silver, same thing. We actually had a bit of an impulse there down. What I was talking about there was not saying that we were going to trade silver long, although I am caught in a long silver trade from further up here. What we were saying there was if we got a break out of that, then we could start to think about trading silver long. But for now, we're still in this, in this downward trend. Let's go back out to the 4 hours. We're still in this downward trend, guys. We're kind of in around here, so maybe we could see a reaction from that, because that at the moment that's the bottom of this larger flat correction that it's in, and I would love to see it continuing to run like that for a while. Obviously, I'd love to see it going long, but that's not going to happen. Don't see a breakout of this anytime soon, guys. But I'd love to just see it reacting off there. And that's kind of what we were talking about the other day, that we said if we got a reaction from this point, then look for it, look for your setup, and then potentially we could trade it up into the middle of the range anyway. And that all depends, yet again, on your trading strategy and when you decide to take your profits. Bitcoin, for me, it's in a correction, technically. Fundamentals, there are people that try to put fundamental analysis onto cryptocurrencies, but not for me. I don't really see where you can get a fundamental analysis from with it. No one really knows what it is at the minute. So until it becomes established as the go-to place of safety, and you have several years of, every time things get a bit tight, money moves out of the stock market and into Bitcoin, then you can start to trade it that way, with that fundamental. But that's not what's happening now, guys. If the stock market goes down, I guarantee you that Bitcoin will go down with it, because people will sell their Bitcoin to cover their positions on the stock market, guys. So with that said, I suspect this will continue to drop. It might even drop, a step with another step. And if it gets down into this sort of region, which also happens to be the 61.8 position, not that we go on the dot, but the region of 61.8, and you're down into near, 24,000, that would be. That for me would be an area to start accumulating a Bitcoin position, if that's what you would like to do. I may do something like that, but we'll talk about it. But I don't. For me, that's not really currency trading. It's more almost a commodity, guys. It hasn't shown any ability to act as a currency at all, and I don't think it necessarily ever will. Ethereum, same thing. Step, pull back, probably another step. If it gets down into that sort of zone, and I get the feeling that there are more uses for Ethereum. Not that I'm an expert in any of this, guys, but I'm trying to play catch up. But from what I've been reading, there seems to be a lot more uses for Ethereum than Bitcoin, and it may become more popular. It's a different dynamic. In other words, it won't end up having the rarity value that Bitcoin potentially has, because there's a limit to how many they're going to mint. So it'll never be $60,000, $70,000 or 50 or 30,000. But from a point of view of where it can get to, well, it can certainly get higher than where it is, guys. But in the short term, I would say it's got more downside. And if it gets down, yet again, back to the 61 retracement area and starts to look like it's coming long again, as it did there, guys, that was the 61 it came to exactly. I'm just trying to make sure I've got this lined up. Sometimes, I've got it on 0. So it retraced to the 61.8 percentage Fibonacci line and bounced off it once, twice, 3 times, guys. Now, that doesn't mean if it gets there again, it will definitely bounce off it. But, there's a high degree of probability that it would if it gets there. Oil. All the talk at the minute's about fuel prices, guys. Energy prices are going through the roof. There's companies here in the UK are going bankrupt, gas suppliers, because they don't have the ability to cover their outgoings. And there is a cap, particularly in England, there's a cap on how much they can charge for gas. So they've been caught out, guys, and they're going bankrupt. There's queues at petrol stations, although apparently there's no shortage of petrol. There is an energy, let's say crisis, but a focus on energy at the minute. And energy stocks have been going up with the commodity prices. And as we saw, crude oil's going up, and they say there's going to be more upside to it. 2 reasons for it. One is supply and demand, where supply has maybe curtailed a little bit due to the whole pandemic, lockdowns, etc. Secondly, due to logistic reasons of the whole world logistic industry isn't back up and running efficiently again. And then thirdly, the economies are starting to open up again. So demand's high and we're getting into the winter. So it's like a perfect storm for energy prices to go up, guys. So oil, yeah, it should push on up through, but could pull back before going, guys. Now, way back here, where was this? July time. When we got to there, I said, listen, this will run flat for a while, guys. And July, August, September, 3 months. And for all the reasons we talked about, I think it's going to push on up through there, guys. It certainly isn't going to go short. And I don't trade oil, by the way. But it's a good idea to know what the oil price is to get a bigger picture of what's happening in the world economy. And it's good for predicting what direction the CAD's going to go in, and the Norwegian krona if you trade that. I don't, because it's expensive to trade. Excuse me. So with that in mind, this could possibly break out, but I'm not overly excited about it. Just look at how it's been moving. Yeah, I'm not excited about that one. There's better trades for the CAD. So, and then Euro was not excited about that. Euro New Zealand, not excited about that. Euro yen, well, you have had that move because of the yen weakness. Obviously, the dollar yen was the trade to have. Yet again, we'll look for a setup between the euro and the yen. If you get a setup there, guys, and the dollar starts to correct, then you may well see another leg up in that. Remember, we're looking for that pullback in the dollar. So, if the timing of that is right, then you could get a trade. I'm not suggesting you trade it up and up and up, but you could get a decent trade in there. Euro Swiss, not sure about it, guys. CAD, pound CAD, there's the strengthening of the CAD due to the oil price, and also a bit of a weakness in the pound due to just all the circumstances that are going on in the UK at the moment, fuel shortages, etc. Labour shortages, truck drivers, maybe starting to feel the full effects of Brexit. It was overshadowed by COVID for a year and a half there, guys. So all the failings of Brexit, or all the teething problems of Brexit, will have to be ironed out. And the COVID kind of wallpapered over it, or whitewashed over the whole thing. Now they've got major logistic problems in that there's a huge shortage of HGV drivers, which used to be filled by Europeans, and they no longer can work in the UK on a casual basis. If they live in the UK and they're European, obviously they can, but they can't casually, move job from Spain to Poland to the UK anymore. They can go obviously from Spain to Poland, but they can't go to the UK. So there's a shortage of drivers, which is causing logistical problems with supply of all sorts of things in the UK at the moment. I need to look a little bit more into the pound, because the fact that the Bank of England came out last week and said that they could well be moving sooner rather than later on increasing interest rates, you would imagine that the pound would go long. So there's a bit of information that I'm missing, guys, about the pound. But let's have a look at a few more. Yeah, it's dropped there. It's still in that little correction there, but that looks like it wants to drop. It's dropped against the Swiss, although there's been a little tail, and dropped against the euro, but it's come into that zone. So at the minute, I wouldn't trade the pound, guys, because I'm not 100% sure what's going on with it. I'll find out, and we can talk about it either tomorrow or Monday, guys, depending when the information comes to me. Pound yen. Well, there you have it, guys. This should have been pushing up really nicely out of this correction. This looks to me like it's come down, it's run flat, looks to me like it wants to do that. But remember, it's against the yen, and everything else has done that against the yen. Well, the dollar's done that against the yen. The fact that the yen's pulled back there quite strongly after that relatively weak move up, it shows me weakness in the pound. Yeah, but there's nothing there that I'm keen enough to trade, other than maybe this. But yet again, you need, which is pound dollar. But yet again, you need the setup for it. So where were we? Been through that. Aussie yen could be. We go down to the. This could be setting up, guys. You've had this move up. You've had a zigzag back down, the little potential little breakout there on a lower time scale. This potentially could move. So I've just written that down. I like to write down and then come back and look at them once we stop recording. Aussie, New Zealand. Yet again, it looks like the Aussies got the upper hand after months of it running short. Looking for a setup, guys. I wouldn't be too quick to jump in there. It could come as a really sharp move back down, and then we decide. You could fib it. I don't always like using fib entries, guys, but there, that line of drew come down into the 61.8, but I'd wait for it to start to move long out of that before we'd take a chance on it. Aussie Swiss. Leave that one. Don't know enough about it. Aussie CAD. I don't like trading that pair, guys. They're both commodity-based economies, and generally commodities move in the same direction. So I find it quite difficult to work out from a fundamental point of view which way this is going to go. So I very rarely trade it. Swiss yen, I think it's going to continue up. We've got a little bit of a hook there, a little bit of a zigzag going on there, guys. Let's just put an alarm on there. CAD Swiss potentially is going to break out long there, but I'm not as keen on this as I would be on the CAD yen. Let's just put the alarm on anyway. CAD yen, same little structure, but with the weakness in the CAD, weakness in the yen at the moment, you could well see more upside to this, at least to that. Whoa, why have we got that line in there? I don't know why I've got that line in there, guys. I'll just take it out. Must have been something we were talking about. And I've got one there and one there. I don't know why they're there. Ignore those, guys. Let's go out to the daily. Maybe that'll tell us why they're there. Oh. Yeah. And that one would have come from there. Just previous targets from down here. Initial target. And then that would have been the next target. And then that would have been the next target. So those are from when we were down here. We'll put that arrow in, guys. So time to take those out. They've been in there a year. Just remove those. We'll leave that one in because that could well be the target. Although you'd probably have that as your target now. Get back down into, well, but go to 1 hour. So that'd be your upside target. Doesn't mean it's going to get there in a straight line, guys, but over the next lot of weeks, it could well get up as far as there. New Zealand yen. Well, that's the drop in the, oh no, it's not. That's a pullback in the yen there. Now, this is one of those situations where you're looking for a pullback and then you get it, and then it's, do you pull the trigger on the trade? So in other words, when we had this situation going on, Aragon breakout, and then from that position, Aragon look for a pullback and then get involved in it. Well, we have a pullback. Do I want to get involved long in that? At the moment, I'm just going to write it down to keep an eye on it. Because I'd rather trade the Aussie against it. Because the Aussie's going long against the New Zealand at the minute. So trade the stronger of the two. New Zealand CAD. There's the weakness in the New Zealand again, guys, and the strength in the CAD. Yet again, I've been looking for a setup on it. Haven't got it. But you tend to find if I've run as far as I have there, if you're in it, yet again, from there, great. If you're not in it, you're going to have to wait for it to do something. And then the fundamentals still to be right for it to go. But given how it's run in the past, guys, this could end up just doing that, you know. So for me at the minute, no. I need to find out why the New Zealand's shorting, guys. If I know that, then we're sorted. And New Zealand Swiss, same thing. Looks at the same structure. This was it moving up. And this is it weakening. What we've got to determine is it a temporary weakening of the New Zealand before it goes long, or is this now a continuation of this downward trend? Possibly it is. But I don't see any upside at the moment to gold. The only thing we could see is an awful lot of people talking about a sell-off in the stock market this month in October, guys. We've already had a bad, September was rubbish. And if it gets worse into October, then you could see a bit of a move to safety, which would be good for the dollar, the Swiss, and the yen. We're not seeing that at the minute, the move into safe havens, into cash. But if it does start to happen, then I wouldn't like to trade against the Swiss. And then finally, the yuan. Now, this isn't something I trade, guys. Every now and again, someone asks me to do a chart for them. Then it kind of ends up in the mix. And this may well have been one of those, or there may have been another reason for it. But yet again, you'd have to look for a pullback and maybe see if it continues down from there. Remembering that, no, I'm just going to take that off the shelf, guys, because I don't know a lot about it. I'm not really all that interested in it, and I've never traded it. So there we go. That's it for the day, guys. Speak to you all again tomorrow. Bye for now.